Awesome. Welcome everyone to yet another webinar with Tom and Chuck as we take you through today how to convert from advanced job scheduler to robot scheduler and work job schedule entries and other tips along the way on scheduling. I'm Tom Huntington, Executive Vice President of Technical Solutions at Help Systems, also an IBM Power Champion, which I guess I'm now working on year 7 of that nomination. Very excited to be part of that program as we get a lot more information and stuff about what's happening on the platform. And I'm joined by my colleague, Mr. Chuck.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Chuck Lisinski, Director of Technical Solutions here at Help Systems, and also Vice President of our local IBMI user group called QUser, quuser.org. Check us out on the web, and since we're a virtual user group, certainly you can join us remote.
Yeah, Chuck, so today we're going to be talking about robot schedule, obviously mainstay in the robot family of products. And just to remind everybody, it started in 1982. Robot schedule was our founding product, and for many years it was just simply referred to as robot. And it's not unusual today to have people say, yes, robot, we use robot, and really what they're talking about is robot schedule. So we'll talk about that. Over the years, that product has expanded to Robot Schedule Enterprise, Robot Replay, and Robot Alert. Robot Schedule Enterprise is basically its ability to have agents on Windows, Unix, and Linux, and now I can run a job over there. Robot Replay is for customers that have truly a interactive process on IBMI. We can learn those processes and run them from interactive as if they are batch jobs. So that's been in our arsenal for, I'm going to say 1996, and Robot Schedule Enterprise in its second derivative has been around for well over 10 years. And there's everything else, robot. Some newer things people don't realize we're doing as we're going towards the end of the year is high availability. We have Robot HA. Robot Monitor has been very popular. Chuck does a lot with that and giving people graphical dashboards around monitoring the system. And then sizing, we can't forget about sizing and capacity planning, problem determination with Performance Navigator for IBMI, and really everything power. So enough with that, Chuck. Let's move on to our agenda here.
Yeah, so the question is, why would you convert away from AJS or the built-in native scheduler on IBMI? We'll talk about how the conversion works, and then we'll talk a little bit about robot and why you want to go there. What do you get with that? And in the meantime, let's just start, Tom, with a quick poll. What are your job scheduling headaches? I love to talk to people about headaches.
So I think my wife just had one of those this morning. So
Tom.
It wasn't job scheduling related, but anyway.
She's attending the webinar?
Yeah, yeah, we'll console her now. She got a good back. How's that? So what are the options here, Chuck? What can they choose?
Well, so CL, we all love CL, but we get into these very complex CL programs that run maybe our nightly batch, our end-of-day processes. Dependency processing is a big thing with the native scheduler, for instance, because you just can't do it. So you got to build it into CL programs, reporting, history, diagnostics, job flow. All those things are missing. So what can you do with the import process? Well, let's close this and share the results. And Tom, this is
interesting.
Pretty interesting, yeah.
Oh, modify and recompile CLs to make in changes. Okay, that's no dependency processing is that yellow line was so faint I didn't realize it was actually bigger. Okay, that's a big thing. And then troubleshooting. Troubleshooting is something that people who own Robot Schedule probably take for granted to a certain extent, Chuck.
Exactly. Right. Okay.
Thanks for sharing that. Let's move on to, if you're not using Robot Schedule, then what are you doing? So we just hit on some of these. CLP, you have a CLP or control language program or a script, depending upon where you came from, that is maintained by your developer. And then now you're all of a sudden worried because that developer who knows that script is about to retire or going to another place. You're using work job schedule entry. It's free, it's in the operating system. It wasn't always in the operating system, Chuck, but there's some problems with it. There's no dependencies, scheduling options are weak. It is very limited. And it doesn't have the reporting, the auditing, we can go on and on and on. Application schedulers are great. They come with the product, but they're two are very similar to the work job schedule entry. A lot of times they don't allow you to do other things outside of that scheduling tool. And so they make the assumption that the only application you're going to run is JD Edwards Enterprise One, and you're going to run the sleepers. But there's, SAP and Oracle and other applications that you might have. So they just don't have the big picture of what's going on. Advanced Job Scheduler is a nice tool that a lot of people use, but issues with that is support. Who do you call for how-to type questions? And then it doesn't reach out to the rest of the enterprise like we can do with our solutions. And then enterprise schedulers, CA, BMC, IBM, Title, others, they don't understand IBMI, which is always an issue because we've built this product around the batch processing on IBMI. So let's move ahead here and talk about why switch the work job schedule entry. Well, I mentioned some of those already. I didn't talk about security and being able to lock down who can run batch processing. I know that's an issue on IBMI. It's an issue on all servers. I mean, in the Windows world, you got Task Scheduler. In the Unix and Linux world, you got cron, right? Hard to lock those things down. Application developers are spending time building dependencies in CLs or into the night processing when you could just plug it into robot schedule and we just take care of it for you. You got that one person who's maintaining those complex CLs. As we mentioned earlier, reporting's a big problem. No history, no forecasting, what's going to run tonight, no job flows to show you dependencies. And then that whole flexibility. You don't have dependency processing. You don't have dependency processing outside of IBMI. So much of our night processing starts when a file arrives on the system, and that's missing also. Okay, and then let's move on to number 8. Power HA, with the advanced job scheduler, one of the issues with Power HA and AJS is that it can't be loaded in the IaaS where you run your batch. That's a problem for people. You have more than IBMI to worry about these days. It's, we can't just put our heads in the sand and say, I'm only worried about scheduling on IBMI when reality is we're monitoring files on Windows, Unix, and Linux that are part of the schedule. We also maybe need to launch SQL Server SSIS packages. We might need to run a script over on Unix or Linux as a result of something running on IBMI. Why not take care of the enterprise? Better reporting for regulations. It's hard to audit what's happening in AJS. The completion history is weak, the reporting part of it, the good morning reports, things like that that don't exist. And then, of course, if you do use dependency processing, not having flow diagrams to be able to see what the relationships are of your job. Chuck, why would you switch out of your big CL?
I love CL, but you know what? There's some issues there. Primarily, okay, we've got change control. If you're in a tightly controlled environment, maybe a regulated environment, now you got to go through the change control process when you need to make maybe just a small tweak to your CL. We've said it again and again and again. Maybe the original developer of that very complex CL with some built-in dependency processing, maybe they're walking out the door. Who's going to maintain that moving forward? And then, of course, the whole idea of reporting capabilities for auditing purposes and those tightly regulated environments that require that. All right, so let's talk about how the conversion process works from the native scheduler or from the built-in scheduler into robot schedule. So what we've done is we've built 3 commands: robot convert, schedule entry, robot AJS convert, and Tom mentioned early on here, RBT start learn, which actually learns the submit job command as it's ran, and then brings that data into robot schedule without actually running the job.
Puts them all on hold. All these conversions put the jobs that we convert on hold.
Good point. Okay, so here's the command, RBT convert schedule. It's prompted. You can enter in a single job name, or you can say start all, and it will bring in all of your jobs into the robot schedule. And like Tom said, it will bring them in on hold. And at that point, what you could do then is you could start modifying the jobs to add dependency processing, or to put them in a group job, or maybe that there's a parameter that needs to be automated with one of our reserved command variables. So that's the idea. Very simple process. And you'll see when we do the live demo, it does a number of checks along the way to make sure, for instance, that you have the proper permissions to do it, to make sure that auditing is on. All right, and for instance, if you import a job that already exists, it's not going to update any existing jobs. All right, once the job is imported, you can use the GUI or the green screen to make your modifications to the job. You will see an application name. That's a field on a robot job, and the application name automatically gets populated with IBM schedule entry for that particular command. There's some log files that are created along the way so that we've got kind of an audit trail of what happened. There won't be any system job history converted into robot. All right, that's reserved for robot executions and further audit reports and error reports if there was a problem. Tom, how about the advanced job scheduler?
Well, the advanced job scheduler is a different command, obviously, RBT AJS convert. And this can convert, again, a single job or all jobs, and it can do jobs by application name. Again, we have to have the authority to run this command. And then we do offer up, or we do audit everything as we do it so that you have a good track record. One of the things I'll throw out, Chuck, in either case, what you should consider to do is then lock down the old tool once you're done with it. So some other items to consider on the conversion: must convert all jobs in reactive job streams to create dependencies during the conversion process. So we don't bring anything over as a group job if you're used to that. That's basically it. The QUser AJS library is where all this information is stored for the IBM scheduler, which again makes it hard for replication and a few other things. Another reason for switching over. Conversion does not update existing jobs, so we don't modify any existing robot jobs as part of this. There's a log file. Jobs are put on hold, as we said. Again, we don't bring over the history. And then the team does a great job of building exception reports for the AJS process with the reports and error files. And then, of course, those who have those native CLs out there, we've for many years have had the robot start learn. Again, I'll go back to say this has been in the product since 1991 or 92. And it's been enhanced over the years. So you can run this on a command line, or you could actually put this in that really large CL that everybody's scared of and have robot start learn just learn all the batch submits that happen during night processing and put them into robot schedule. You're then going to have to evaluate the submit jobs and make sure that they're what you expect. But this is a great way of bringing in jobs. So what you do is you go to a command line, and before you go in your menu system, you do robot start learn, and then we'll intercept things as they're being submitted and put them in to robot schedule. So on the other side, do you want us to submit it? No, you probably don't. Unless you're on a test system, you might want us to actually submit it right away. But then you can go in and robot schedule, put them in group jobs, reactive jobs, add in some end of month, end of week, end of day type scheduling with this command.
All right, Tom. So we get them all into robot.
Mm-hmm.
What can they do at that point?
All right, let's talk about that.
Let's talk about the great things in robot schedule you can take advantage of. First of all is dynamic parameter calculation. We call those reserve command variables. So when your command line is imported into robot via one of the conversion commands, you can use one of our reserve command variables to populate the parameter string with maybe a date range. So you have maybe a 7-day date range, and in the past maybe you've modified that, or you've had to program it yourself through CL. We have those variables built into robot schedule.
Again, developers, Chuck, spend a lot of time writing dynamic parameters and things like that. We give you a bunch of utilities and ways to do that. The other reason is the flowcharting capabilities. Both the GUI and the website interface have flowcharting capabilities to see relationships of the jobs. Here we're seeing that. Something I should point out, those relationships that we're going to show you are not only job relationships, but file dependencies too. Keep in mind, robot schedule has the ability to monitor file creation in libraries and IFS directories, and then also on Windows, Unix, and Linux if you have the robot schedule enterprise piece running. Okay, so flowcharting.
All right, let's talk about the schedule activity monitor. The schedule activity monitor came out when we brought the robot schedule graphical interface to market. And the schedule activity monitor shows you in 3 columns what will be running in the near future, what currently is running, and then what has completed for the last day or 2 days, your choice, and if those processes completed normally or not. And the great thing is this is kind of like a dashboard widget. I'd call this a dashboard because it auto refreshes. It tells you when the next job is going to run along the bottom. It tells you if robot is active, and it populates itself. So the first column, the forecasted column, looks at all the information about a robot job. It looks at the discrete schedule, looks at calendars, looks at dependencies, looks at group jobs, looks at Opal, and it populates this forecasted column to give you a really good picture of what will be running in the near future. And then if anything does have an issue, for instance, we've got, looks like a balancing operation here that ended abnormally, we can simply drill into that. We can go into the job completion history. We can look at the properties of the job. We can look at the spool files associated with the job. We can even rerun it, all from the graphical user interface here in the Schedule Activity Monitor, or SAM, as we like to call it.
You know, there's other automation too with that forecasting piece. We added in a few years ago a command called forecast jobs miss. And the idea with that is it looks at the over on the right, what's completed, and compares to that to the forecast, and then generates a delta based on your rules. But that's a command that you can just put in robot schedule to schedule. And that's really a big tip on automation is use your scheduler to automate all kinds of other things that you don't really necessarily think of. I've been using robot schedule for years, and I had what I call dummy jobs out there that would just warn me about things. And there's a lot of unique processing you can do to help you out with SLAs. So let's move on to enterprise scheduling. This kind of, we talked about this already. You know, you do need to add in robot schedule enterprise, but now I have an IBMI centric scheduling tool. Now, some people get a little worried. One of the tips I'll give you on this is that if you are a big environment with lots of Windows and lots of Linux servers, you might want to consider running this from a partition that's not production, because if you're going to take your production partition down for like hours to do backups and other types of maintenance once or twice a year, the Windows, Unix, and Linux guys get all excited about that, and they use that against you and say, well, we can't put our schedule on IBMI because it goes down for these long backups and whatnot. When in reality, IBMI runs for decades up and running. It's got a high, you know, so really they shouldn't be, they're trying to come up with something. But running an IBMI centric schedule with Robot Schedule Enterprise is a very reliable way of going about it. And we can run all the scripts and things that you need to run over on the other platforms. So that's my take. Yeah.
Yep, and I would argue that, you know, it's about the dependency processing between your ERP running on IBMI and all those ancillary processes that are running out in the Windows Linux world. And don't forget that Automate, our RPA solution called Automate, can also be incorporated into your broader scheduling. Maybe to trigger a balance process.
Yeah, we have quite a few banks that are using Automate with Robot and using it to do some more specific things for Windows environments. Good point.
Yeah, yep. Okay.
All right.
So, yeah, Tom, advanced scheduling.
Advanced scheduling. Well, you know, this is features that we've added into Robot Schedule over the years, things like running jobs multiple times of the day, running jobs in certain week numbers, certain days of the month, which is one of my favorite. You can do plus days, minus days. You can have a certain set of dates. Probably my least scheduling favorite feature, because then that means you have to maintain those every single year. I'm a big automation fan, so I try to figure out how to run things so nobody has to go in and modify anything in the future, other than maybe a calendar once a year. And then incremental dates, or incremental processes. Our every feature can say every 2 minutes, every 5 minutes, every 30 minutes, every 180 minutes, as we have listed. And you can do specific days of the week with that. So I can say only on Tuesdays between this time range. And with or without dependencies, you can have many of these scheduled events going on We can have parameters like run before and after, what to do with holidays. And then even for the crazy scheduling that you might have to do, we can use OPAL as exceptions on here. OPAL stands for Operator System Language. It's been around and part of the product for many years. You know, in this example here, we're retrieving the value of a data area, and we're looking at that. And if that data equals anything but Y, then we're going to add 15 minutes, send a message that it's been delayed. So we do have people that do kind of those kinds of processing. All right, and then over to flexible calendars, Chuck.
Yeah, we
What do you
actually
think
have two
about
number twos. This is part of the flexible scheduling. Excuse me.
You're choked up over this number 2 thing, aren't you?
Ah, there we go. Okay, so this is around that flexible scheduling, and that's calendars. So you can have a fiscal calendar, you could have a holiday calendar, you could have multiple calendars. You can even switch calendars between jobs using a command.
Can be fully automated.
Yep, and likewise, also a lot of people who have been using Robot for a long time forget that there is job monitors built into every single job in Robot. All right, so you can automatically get notified or take action if a job runs too long, runs too quickly, or doesn't get started on time.
Yeah,
I think
and
Tom, I think that's underutilized.
Yeah, and there's also a feature where you can add in a job to create a forecast, because you know sometimes we just don't know when things run because they're happening external. There's like a forecast type job that's purely just to help trigger the reporting inside of Robot Schedule in the forecasting area.
Yeah, and Tom, I would argue that the number one reason to use Robot is dependency processing.
Yeah, there we are again with our flow chart. You know, dependencies of this job and this job and this job is a prerequisite for this job plus this file that happens to be running on a Windows server plus a CL on IBM I. Those are our dependencies. So it kind of goes on and on. We have people that their whole night processing is totally event driven using reactive jobs. We have people that use reactive jobs and group jobs. That would kind of be my preference. I would use a variety of my dependency processing groups for kind of that common stream, end of day, end of week, with different dependencies for reactive jobs. So you can get very complex in here. I generally like to say keep it simple as possible so that the next person coming along can understand what you did. So Chuck,
yeah,
I think.
Yep, is it time for a live demo?
I think there's time for demo. We've got plenty of time. Let's show some things here.
All right.
What's the plan in the demo today?
Okay, so the plan on the demo is what we're going to do is we're going to look at the built-in scheduler work job schedule entry. And we're just going to pick, actually, I think Tom's got a couple of jobs out here that we're going to pick on. Okay, Tom, can you see these jobs that you put out there?
I can see them. Yep. Why'd I do that?
Well, you did that specifically because we needed some jobs to import into Robot Schedule. But here, let's take a look at these. Let's take a look at these jobs. Okay, so this has a command in it, delay job 30. It's going to run just on Mondays at 1:15 in the afternoon, 13:15. It has a specific job description and a specific library. It has a specific job queue and a specific user that it's going to run as, and it's also got some text description. So what the conversion command does is it brings all this data directly into Robot Schedule. It puts that job on hold so your native scheduler will continue to run. And then when you're ready to sort of make the leap into Robot Schedule, you'd simply take this job, put it on hold, and then import or then release the job in Robot Schedule. All right, and so let's find the command. And here's a little tip. It's in the Robot library, ROBOT lib. All right, and it's robot convert. So using our shortcut, you can always find the commands you're looking for, whether they're in Robot land or elsewhere. So let's do robot convert schedule. All right, and we're going to do Tom import is the job.
Notice right? You can do all too, right? Star all.
Yep. All right, so I just pressed enter, and first of all, it went through some permissions checking. It says that I have the proper authority. All right, and it says, oh, there's a warning. might be exceptions, check out the report, but the conversion did create the job inside of robot. All right, but it did create a log too, and if I did a display job option 4, all right, you'll see the logs that are out there. All right. All right, so let's go. Yeah, let's go look at the GUI. All right, and I think that's a good place to go. All right, we'll look at all jobs, and we'll go to Tom, and there's Tom import.
Oh, you got it in twice.
Well, I've been practicing.
I guess.
All right.
I think it's doing the delay job, so it's not going to cause any problems.
Yeah. All right, let's bring up the properties of this job and see what we got. So the application name is IBM Schedule. Notice the description of the job copied in. All right, let's look at the scheduling. All right, Monday, 1:15 every week.
Perfect.
Command entry, delay job 30. And the control options. All right, so we've got the robot space job description. We've got the Q programmer job queue. We've got Tom H as the user. And let's see, what else did I miss here?
So now we could make this a reactive job, a group job. We could do whatever we want to. We could add dependencies to it.
We could.
We don't have any right now, but we could.
Yeah, exactly.
Chuck, let's do bonus. We got 2 minutes. How about back to your command line? Can you do a robot start learn, or were you planning on doing that?
No, I can do that. Though.
Let's have you do robot start learn, prompt that. Okay, so we're just going to build a schedule job. Let's show people that, because if they haven't seen it, a couple different ways. Okay, you could just do a submit job command, or you could run a CL, certainly. All right, yeah, let's just do that.
CL submit job 1. All right, job description, we'll just go with user profile. Job queue, let's go Q programmer.
How about some parameters on there? Call XYZ with parm today's date.
Sure.
Just
let's do 11. What is today? The
16th. 21. We're halfway done with November, Chuck. There you go.
All right. Here we go. All right. Look at that.
Wow.
It just created a robot job. Yeah. So it created a robot job for us. Same name as the job that was in the submit job command.
Oh.
We could just go ahead and schedule it to run right now.
1 a.m. We're not waiting until 1 a.m. Anybody gonna be around at 1 a.m.?
No, but here, what we could do instead of the hard-coded date is we could put in one of our variables.
Yeah, reserve command variable.
Right, and let's see what the results of that are.
Oh.
Here's all the variables. All right, and we can scroll through the list, quite a few there. You can create your own. Let's test the variable.
Oh,
edit command variables and test it.
Oh, look at that.
All right, so now that parameter is fully automated.
So XYZ is always going to run with the right business date.
Exactly.
Voila, there we are. Any questions out there? Well, oh, we got another polling question, Chuck. We better go back to the presentation.
Let's do that. Yep.
Yeah, I'm making you do all the hard, heavy lifting today here. But we want to thank you. As Chuck's bringing up the polling question, we want to give you a chance to ask any questions of us. Maybe there's some features or something that you're looking for in robot schedule or other questions. You know, what we do is we'd like to, you know, maybe you need some help with these conversions, or you want a demo of robot schedule, or you want to just do a trial. We do 30-day trials. You get the real product, everything's there. Just knock yourself out, have some fun. Another thing that Chuck and I periodically do for customers is robot health checks, where we'll take a look at how you're using the product, make suggestions, even take a look at that run book or those tasks that you've been doing manually and make suggestions on how you could automate them. With that said, any other thoughts, Chuck, today?
Well, there seems to be renewed interest in automation. There's a lot of that going on. I think it's maybe due to the lack of IT resources that are out there, the staff shortages. So automation is hot.
Yeah, it is. I mean, automation has certainly been hot for a lot of people, and something that, you know, we need to get more out of the system and do more with less. And I'm actually starting to see a lot of that Chuck, even in security space. I think we can't continue to add more and more security professionals. We have to think about how can we automate our security too. And Robot Schedule is a great tool for that. We can help you
Right.
with your audit reports and a lot of other things that we could do security wise.
All right.
All righty.
Tom, right on the bottom of the hour. Good timing.
Yeah, we'll give them a couple of Minnesota you betchas, and I hope you put your boat back in storage for winter, Chuck, because it's going to get cold here. It's November.
All right, Tom. Back at you, and everybody, thanks for joining us. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Enjoy the holidays. Bye-bye, everyone.